how do we stop coming back to people who aren't good for us or indeed to us? In this video, I will share a couple of insights that are common themes coming up in my work with individual clients. And of course, every person and every situation is unique. However, these points that I will share today, as I said, are recurring themes. And so I decided to talk about it with hope that it's going to bring you more understanding and more clarity, more awareness, in order to understand why you may be drawn to come back, or you feel that urge to come back to a unhealthy or dysfunctional relationship dynamics, and also the people who haven't been treating you well. And in the end of this video, I'm going to give you some direction of what can you do in order to start healing from this dysfunctional relationship dynamic. So please stay till the end. So the first point is the time element. People say that we learn from the history. However, the fact is that we rarely do, at least the first time around. And therefore, internally, we are pushed to repeat it. So if you have experienced a relationship where you kind of understand that it wasn't healthy, that there was a lot of distress, and maybe you didn't even feel safe at times in that relationship, and a lot of drama happened, you kind of naturally understand that this relationship wasn't healthy and it didn't support your overall well-being. However, in time, some people forget a little bit how it actually felt to be in that relationship, and they start to romanticize and fantasize about that relationship or that particular person, and remember all the good things. And of course, there were great things in that relationship. So the focus is shifting from what actually happened and how unhealthy being in that relationship felt, and the focus is now shifting to all the good moments and all the good qualities of that person, kind of dismissing the actual reality. And so that kind of inner chat comes back into your head. Well, maybe it wasn't that bad, and maybe I shouldn't be so negative, and maybe I shouldn't be so strict, and give another chance. So this is what I see is like internal self-gaslighting going on. So you're dismissing what actually happened, you are overlooking the totality of the reality that you experienced, and you again that inner chat within you is trying to convince you that, maybe it wasn't all that bad and I should check it out again. So the time element is very connected also to the next theme, which is loneliness. So for some people, the more time has passed, the more they can start feeling lonely again. Because that loneliness, what they are normally feeling, or regularly feeling didn't actually happen because the end of an unhealthy relationship. That is much deeper sense of loneliness that people carry within themselves from way in the past, before their adulthood, something that they developed and regularly felt, starting in a family dynamic, for example. And so it is a very deep and triggering feeling that obviously is uncomfortable, and therefore our mind will start creating tricks to avoid that feeling. And sometimes that means the urge to come back to the person or the situation that somehow, even in an unhealthy way, met that need of connection. So again, loneliness can trigger that sort of subconscious hope that at least some of our needs are going to be met. And that overrides the rest of the needs that aren't going to be met by a toxic person or a very unhealthy entanglement. So this is a trigger that, again, like I said, is not necessarily connected to that particular relationship. It comes from way in the past. And by healing that sense of loneliness or disconnection from ourselves, for example, we can heal the urge of coming back for breadcrumbs, really. And this brings me to the next element, the hope, or let's say a belief, that the person who previously repeatedly treated you badly has actually changed. So now we have a time element, and also loneliness is kicking in, especially now when the holiday season is upon us and we are being conditioned from every corner that we're supposed to be all jolly and cheerful, or pretend to be. And so that hope, new beginnings that are sort of attached to this season of the year, the mind starts playing tricks on us again and kind of giving that false hope of perhaps this person, changed while we were apart. And perhaps they even saying that they have changed. So here it is, that urge of coming back being triggered within again. So no wonder that so many people coming towards this holiday season are actually getting back together with people who aren't right for them, let's say, just based on that sparkling wish that that person has changed, obviously, that that person has improved, without having any real evidence to support this belief. So it's not like we take time and we sit down with that person and we actually have a proper conversation to establish what has changed in them, what has changed in us, what has changed in our situation, what kind of new different ways we can bring into that relationship, or different boundaries that we can start establishing in order to, start and try it again. Normally, it doesn't happen like this at all. We just kind of jump into it with just a sense of hope or expectation or promises that this time it's going to be different. But like I said again, without any real tangible evidence that something has changed, which of course in due course leads to one more repetition of a toxic cycle. So another element that comes up quite often when I work with my clients hypnotically, meaning communicating with their subconscious mind, is that deeply ingrained belief that they are just not worthy of anything better, that maybe they don't even deserve to be treated any better. So in order to shift this false belief, obviously, we work around reconnecting to this self-worth and obviously raising our personal self-esteem. Because if you do have that belief that tells you you don't deserve anything better, it is going to be a very strong subconscious force that will be dragging you over and over back again to a dysfunctional or even abusive relationship, causing even more inner distress and inner, dysregulation of the nervous system, just causing the havoc all over your body and your mind. And sadly, so many people, including myself, actually didn't have the upbringing that modeled what healthy relationships are, how they look like, what healthy self-esteem is, how to nurture our self-worth, how to set and maintain healthy boundaries, and so on. Quite the opposite, I'd say. And those experiences actually formed, again, subconsciously, what is familiar and what is not. So if you were growing up in the environment that was chaotic, where adults were unpredictable and at times you didn't feel safe or considered, and this is the only thing that you knew, the only thing that you could have done was to adapt to it and accept that this is how things are. And often children at the age where they can't even, future pace, they also form a belief that this is how things will always be. And so they carry this false, distorted, unhealthy belief about relationships into their adulthood without even being aware of it. So in other words, subconsciously, you are driven to recreate the same cycle with, variations, obviously, but it's the same cycle that was learned somewhere a long time ago. And you are recreating that familiar cycle over and over again until you decide to break the cycle. You decide to heal those wounds, and you realize that you have different options and choices, and that it doesn't need to be the way that it's always been, that you can actually create new patterns. Sometimes other people and friends and family, the same members of a dysfunctional family, find it hard to understand why someone would go back to being with a person that was mistreating them, or going back to a relationship that is obviously hurting them. And that's because they are making these decisions out of their conscious awareness. Of course, consciously, you know, you feel and you understand that there is no point going back to a particular situation or person who has repeatedly proven to hurt you. But your subconscious tells you a different story. It tells you that this is all that you know. This is your familiar. And even if it's painful, on some level, you have that sense of control because, again, on some level, you already know what you're going to be feeling in that relationship. It's quite twisted, isn't it? So what can be done in order to start healing from these damaging subconscious patterns that keep you stuck in unhealthy and unhappy relationships? Well, the first step is always awareness. We have to get to know ourselves, get to know our needs, and also acknowledge what we went through and what lessons we've learned from our previous relationships, and especially those relationships that were modeled to us when we were little. The truth is, we cannot change the past. We cannot change what has happened to us, but we can choose not to repeat it, and we can choose to put a different interpretation or put a different understanding on those past events. Another important point is to identify what kind of needs aren't being met at the moment or haven't been met for a long time or ever. So understanding your own personal needs, honestly assess what kind of needs your ex or friendship or whatever relationship that you are now thinking to come back to again were meeting or helping you to meet those needs. So honestly assess that and see how can you meet those needs in a healthy way. Can you do it yourself? Can you do it in another environment with other group of people or with another person who is not going to take advantage of you because they are meeting one need there but are also hurting you over there? So finding that balance, and because we are so focused on one situation or one person, usually we can't see what's going on all around us and how many ways are there for us to start meeting our own needs in a much healthier way. And remember that there is no single person on this planet that can meet all your needs. Just like you cannot meet all the needs of someone else. So let's not put that pressure on ourselves or our partners or one singular person in your life, and instead let's get exploring what we actually longing for within and how can we meet those emotional needs in a much healthier way. And this inner work will help you to tame that inner urge to repeat familiar realities once again and shift your focus to something new, something fresh, and something exciting in your life. So I hope this was helpful and brought you some value. And if so, please consider sharing this video, liking it, and obviously subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.